Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Palak and I'm your host for today. In a world of rapid change and hyper competition, both Indian businesses and the workforce stand to crossroads. New generations like millennials and Gen Z reshape the workforce, demanding purposeful work, flexible schedules, and a chance to contribute their ideas. The fiercely competitive talent landscape demands a workforce not just skilled, but engaged, diverse, and equipped for the future. As businesses grapple with generational changes and tech advancements, integrating upskilling is vital. In the era of hybrid work models, retaining talent and promoting cross functional engagement are significant challenges, reshaping traditional workplace norms. The models present both opportunities and difficulties in maintaining employee involvement and collaboration. In such a dynamic scenario, skill development, engagement, diversity, and continuous learning are essential for organizational resilience and success. With this context, Toastmasters, in collaboration with Dun Bradstreet, is happy to welcome you all for today's conference on the topic Elevating Organizational Dynamics, the Nexus of Engagement, Diversity, and Continuous Learning. Let us take a quick look at today's session. Please refer to the agenda displayed on the screen right now. We definitely have a very promising agenda today with an eminent lineup of speakers. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for being part of this conference today. Let us begin with the knowledge sharing session, the panel discussion on the pertinent topic, Elevating Organizational Dynamics, the Nexus of Engagement, Diversity, and Continuous Learning. I would like to now introduce our esteemed panelists in no particular order. We have with us Ms. Neha Singh, who is the head L&D from Kalpatru Private Limited. Neha, can I just request you to come on the stage? Then we have Ms. Shabana Upanal, Director Global Talent Management, Asia Pacific and Japan from Tech Data Corporation. Dr. Jagmohan Rishi, Global Head L&D from Wockhardt. Mr. Vaibhav Ugale, Head HR from Toshiba Johnson Elevator India Private Limited. And finally, we have with us Mr. Sanjeev Leri, who is the Chief Human Resource Officer, GRP Limited, to lead the conversation. Before we start the panel discussion, we have a live poll. So request you all to please scan the QR code. Just coming in. Please scan the QR code presented on the screen. We will be asking you a few questions which can help us set the context of the discussion. If in case you're not able to scan the QR code, you can also go on www.menti.com and enter the code which is mentioned on the screen, which is 5655716. Has everyone joined the poll? Can you show of hands how many people have joined the poll? Perfect. Request you all to please join from this side as well. If you're not able to scan it, you can also go on the website and join from the code. So I'll just start with the poll now. The first question for the poll is, in your experience, what is the biggest challenge to fostering employee engagement in your organization? The first option is lack of clear organizational goals and values. Option 2, insufficient opportunities for professional development. Option 3, workload imbalance and burnout. Option 4, company culture that lacks diversity and inclusion. Request you to please select your answers. Yes. Sorry. It's there on the left-hand side of the screen. Has everyone selected the answer? Can I just have a show of hands? Perfect. Next question is, which of the following would be your focus area to enhance practical workplace skills by utilizing software like Toastmasters online learning tool? Option 1, leadership development. Option 2, project management. Option 3, communication skills. Option 4, all of the above. Moving on to the next question. Which leadership style do you believe is most effective in creating a thriving workplace culture? Sorry. In a hybrid work environment, how effective is your organization at promoting collaboration across different teams and functions? Option A, highly effective. We have strong communication skills and processes in place. Option 2, moderately effective. Some collaboration challenges but working on improvements. Option 3, not very effective. Siloed teams and limited cross-functional interaction. Option 4, needs significant improvement, lack of clarity on how to collaborate effectively in a hybrid model. Moving on to the last question. Which leadership style do you believe is most effective in creating a thriving workplace culture in today's environment? Option 1, authoritarian. Option 2, collaborative. Option 3, visionary. Option 4, adaptable. Perfect. So now I would like to hand it over to Mr. Larry to take the session ahead.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Are we all awake? Yes. After the wait, everybody had coffee? Yes. Or chai or whatever. Okay, great. Wonderful being here, and indeed a privilege. And sitting among these talent luminaries, I'm actually basking in their glory. So thanks again, guys. The topic is interesting, and so couple of words that stand out from the entire sentence, right? Organizational dynamics, engagement, diversity, and continuous learning. Okay, so we are the HR fraternity here. Okay, so do we do a quick test quiz? Okay, uh, engagement. What do you all think about it? What is it? Some random answers, very one-liners, one word. Engagement, interacting, involvement, connect, bonding, connect. Okay, relationship, understanding each other, retention, then diversity? No. Diversity? What do you mean by inclusive? Okay. Anything? What would be diversity? How?
Prior to that engagement, when you're asking, where there is a direct correlation with the productivity also.
Yeah, it's a correlation. No, I'm just trying to. My intention of asking this is A, to ensure that all of us are awake, and B, to also just see that we all come on the same page. So just to get a little guess on that. Diversity? Uniqueness, okay. Acceptance, okay. Culture, okay. Uh, the term diversity would mean what?
Newer ideas, innovation.
New ideas, innovation, okay. Sorry. Equal opportunities. Okay. So does continuous learning has any role to play there? If we have engagement on one side and diversity on the other side, what will continuous engagement do there? Continuous learning do there? Any thoughts?
It helps to remove biases.
It helps to remove biases, okay. Awareness. Enhancement of awareness, okay. Exposure. Knowledge sharing. Relevance, okay. Okay, then comes this term which we might end up finding in the books of organizational dynamics. And definitely we all use this term in our professional lives. Being in HR, I'm sure a lot of times, right? So what would that be? What is it? People pulling legs? Operations and HR fights? Credit taking, credit hugging, okay. Interactions. Yeah. So just on that note, that it is. So when I heard this term and actually did a little bit of research to refresh my old brains, it comes across as a mesh, as a matrix. It is like the push and pulls. It is like pulling one thread from one which is actually going to probably impact the other threads in the fabric, in the organizational fabric. Therefore, it's such an important and a relevant topic today to be to be up for discussion, and maybe for all of us to be mindful that in this call VUCA, call BANI, call whatever world we are in, for the organization to stand, for any organizations to stand tall, given the aspects of diversity that we already have in the organizations. Yep. Lot of interventions that we keep on doing towards engagement, and we preach about continuous learning. How do they all come together? So on that note, we have, we'll delve into this, yep, maybe layer by layer. And once again, indeed privileged to be sitting over here and learning from these luminaries. And any one of them actually need no introductions. You can find us on or LinkedIn, or maybe in the brochure what DNB had given to you. So the first question I will go to Vaibhav. Vaibhav, we are all in the space of talent, right? So what do you think is the key opportunities or the challenges that we have in attracting and retaining talent, and particularly when most of us may be managing global workforces? And how as organizations we are addressing these challenges?
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible to you all. Thank you for this question, Sanjeev. What I think is this question was there yesterday. This question is here today. And this question will continue there to be tomorrow as well. So कल भी था, आज भी है और कल भी रहेगा. Because we always find that difficulties or always find that challenge to have right kind of a people on board with us. And that's with everyone, all industries. So what used to happen earlier is that we used to have, talk about we are hiring a key management person. So what used to happen is we used to hire a experienced person in that particular industry. And then that person used to get that opportunity. Over a period of time, things have changed. The young generation is getting into those key management positions now. Why? Because they have enough experience. But at the same time, they have more knowledge of that subject. So they become more subject matter experts. And that's how things are becoming a little different. So competencies, experience, and knowledge makes a lot of difference in hiring a right talent for us. And that's also the challenge for us as well, to find a right fit. To add to this, there is also a culture fit is most important thing. You know, we talk about every company has its own culture. If somebody coming from a different culture, he getting fitted into that culture is the key. Because end of the day, the organization is driven by the culture. And unless and until that individual gets fitted into the culture, it is always difficult for him to perform and also the organization to accept him. That's also one of the challenge what we find here. Second point is we talk about the global workforce. You know, what are the opportunities we talk about? The opportunities like now in the global world, the talent pool is available everywhere. You know, you can hire people from anywhere across the globe and put them anywhere in the world. Now that's the opportunity for us, you know, to have people on board from anywhere. The cross-border exposure, the cross-border, talk about experience, always helps us to have, you know, better people on the board. So these are the few things which I always feel that will always make a difference in our hiring and retaining the people. Now let's talk about retaining the people. So brand, core values makes a lot of difference while we retain people. People gets always attracted to a brand. People always get attracted to a assignment. But when we talk about values, the values makes a lot of difference. If we have good values, I'm sure each one of us will always try to be there in the organization for a longer time. And that helps to retain people as well. Now coming back to engagement. Sanjeev just asked about what are the engagement we talk about. Every company will have different initiatives to have engagement, you know, engaging people. I think communication is the most important factor to have better engagement. Wherever you work, whichever level you have an opportunity, communication will always make a lot of difference to have engaged people. I think these are the challenges and opportunities what I feel we have in this world. Yeah.
Great. Shabana, you are in the tech space. So how is the tech, what are you seeing happening in the tech space on the attracting, retaining challenges of talent?
Sure. Thanks, Ajit. I mean, I don't think the world is very different from, you know, what Vaibhav outlined there in the tech space as well. Sorry about that. I thought I was audible. Am I audible now? Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Okay. So like I was saying, in the tech space, life is no different. I think it's the same. Kal wahi tha, aaj wahi hai, aage bhi wahi hoga. That's true. And I've been in this space for close to about 12 years now. And I think the challenges are the same. It's almost like a high stakes juggling act that you're doing, right, all the time, trying to attract good talent. And especially in the tech space, I would say it's fierce competition because everybody is vying for the great minds that you want to have, especially those who are technically qualified. You know, the skill sets are, the supply and demand is kind of skewed. I think from a challenge perspective, I would say from a tech space, it's the development, you know, the learning and development opportunities because the upskilling and reskilling of co-workers is key. With the dynamic environment that the tech space operates in, technology is changing all the time, so upskilling of co-workers is important. So it's also an opportunity for organizations in that sense to create those kind of environments for upskilling and creating personalized learning paths for their co-workers, and how you kind of take that into consideration. I think another big factor is dealing with the work environment. We in the tech space especially, hybrid, remote working is key. And if you want to attract talent that is within the global workforce kind of realm, you need to be aware and be able to provide those kind of opportunities to co-workers. Otherwise, you won't get the best of the talent if you're not flexible to provide that kind of environment. I also feel creating a very specific brand image for the organization is important. It's almost like the company's dating profile, right? How much you can create value in the eyes of that talent. So creating a strong statement for the company's culture, the value that the organization represents, especially leveraging social media for that, through storytelling, those kind of stuff, is key to making sure that you're kind of tapping the right kind of talent. So like I said, these are challenges, but these are also opportunities for organizations to really evolve and keep strategizing to how you want to think about attracting the best talent in the industry.
Great. Audible, right?
There's some issue.
Okay. So some very interesting points coming out, and as we can see, I mean, both our colleagues being from very different sectors, the challenges and the approaches actually remain more the same. The paradigm may be a little different. This brings me to this whole concept of skilling programs, because in organizations we keep on running interventions, we create skilling programs, etc. However, let me straight away go to the question, and this is for Neha. Neha, so I mean, in your role, you would design, implement skilling programs which need to be effective, but for them to be effective, they need to be engaging and cater to the needs of the multi-generational workforce or the diverse workforce which you might have. How do you handle that?
Actually, the best part of a trainer is they don't need a mic because the voice is loud. So, I think the first point was about the learning and the engagement. Usually when people say how engaging your company is, वो एक दिन कोई event करना is not an engagement because it's a one-day activity that might attract a talent for some time. Maybe it's kind of a cherry on the cake. You feeling good about it. So when you say you're doing any skilling program, nowadays, me being in a real estate company, skilling program again becomes very difficult because these are all technical programs. You have completely two different set of people with you. Some are very technical. They are, when they are working on site, they are project people. Maybe it could be IT department. In every organization, there are different departments. So you have to categorize your program, your upskilling in such a way that it matches the need of your entire cohort. Maybe a very holistic program that you can do one when you say about the engagement. There are sets of programs. One that you can do for everyone, which you call as an engagement program. Like you say, Diwali ho gaya, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. Anything which happens on a regular basis in all the organization, that's called your engagement program. But is that your continuous learning that engages your employee? It doesn't. None of your engagement program can do your continuous learning for anyone. Continuous learning can always happen on the job, what you do on your daily basis. I can say if you're working with your mentor, your bosses can be your direct mentor actually. We don't treat them as a mentor, whereas it's vice versa also. I won't say it's a one-way street kind of. So every senior of yours, it's their responsibility because from there your continuous learning comes. And when you talk about that engagement, okay, when the basic needs of an employee is being met properly, that employee is engaged on its own. You need not do anything. I'll give you a normal example. If I'm struggling to come to office, if I have to reach office by 9 o'clock, if I have to get up early in the morning at 5 and leave my place at 7 and I'm still struggling to go to office, high expenses to reach over there, and the entire day I have to follow the same routine again after 6 o'clock from leaving from the office. So it's like I'm tired from inside. I'm a hard-working employee, but I'm not an engaged employee. Okay, the engagement is what to whatever distance I'm staying. Okay, that fatigue is not there on my face. That my travel, or I would say my office space is it will take 3 hours for me to travel. If you see an engaged employee, a typical example, employee is very happy. They'll be more than happy. Okay, fine, I have to go to office. They'll work on your Saturdays also. You need not push them. They'll never ask for your hybrid. They'll never ask for your work from home because they consider your office as a home only. Okay, they'll never ask for it. I've also seen people stating you keep on and on doing programs. Okay, HR usually make a calendar and then employee says, okay, that's your KRA, that's not my KRA. Okay, so that's a common example. In HR, we all swear by that. Whenever you call any person, okay, now the training is aligned, if that person becomes the Prime Minister of India for that day. All their important meeting is assigned on that day. For 1 hour, the chairman will call them, the MD will call them. They'll say, "Aaj abhi to mujhe yahan se nikal ke jana hai. I have some important assignment to submit." Okay, an engaged employee will never do that. Okay. So also I would like to say, when you're doing any kind of continuous learning, it should have a buy-in from your customers. Like when a product is made, we always take a buy-in from the customers. But when we do a training, it's not a buy-in from the person. Is there a need? If your stomach is full, you will not have that extra meat. Is there a need? Is there a space? So that's what I would say. In your engagement, your continuous learning, it happens simultaneously. It happens on a day-to-day basis. So that's my take on that.
Wow, see? Mesmerized. आपने दिल की बात कह दी.
I think everybody can relate that. They must be facing it on a daily basis.
Yeah. Doctor, Ram, what is your take on this? Reskillings.
I think, is it audible? Okay. You must have heard this dialogue, रिश्ते में तो हम आपके बाप लगते हैं, right? रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे बाप लगते हैं. दूसरा डायलॉग एक बड़ा कॉमन सुना है मैंने कि it's not a filmy dialogue, but when you were in liquid state, I was already closing my sales. Okay. So this is something which multi-generational force challenges for the trainers and the L&D people have it. You know, when you have a multi-generation, baby boomers or Gen X, Gen AI nowadays, of course, is there. So it is definitely a challenge. And let me stick to one particular domain of sales and marketing. We have people who are many years in the organization, and they have been operating in a particular manner. And of course, with the advent of pandemic, the style of selling has changed. It is more social style of selling nowadays, and at the same time, use of technology is very, very important. So that is where we talk about that it is important, as Neha rightly mentioned, that we design the content in that particular manner. If somebody is not coming forward to learn, it is the fault of a design of the program. So that is what I'm saying, and I take the blame myself. Of course, as Neha mentioned, that many people don't turn up for the training program and give some excuses. This Friday we are having a negotiation skills program across the board, but now you have to sell the program accordingly, and at the same time I always tell my trainers that you have to discount it at if only 50% of the employees will turn up. So I have taken 20 ka batch liya maine, so I always want 40 ka registrations with me, because I am getting a faculty from IIM, and I sent a mail, my trainer sent the mail that negotiation and influence by IIM faculty only limited 20 seats. So basically you create a FOMO kind of thing, and at the same time you get a buy-in, and the purpose is very important over there. So negotiation and influence is a very important topic, but then what happens is you have to discount that people will definitely drop out because of MD, chairman or boss. So these things are there. Baki, I will always talk about the theoretical aspect that, we follow the path like hashtag assessments of the needs, we all follow that aspect through survey or PMS details. Besides this, we need to customize the learning content because you are getting multi-generational. So the way we started at Mentimeter. Now gamification something is there which appeals to everybody. Is there anybody here who doesn't like to gamify? I think everybody like to gamify themselves. And that's why it's a part of it. Third is of course in tech integration. Now all the facilitators, we need to use tech very, very, comfortably. If a virtual program is happening, I should know how to use Zoom or Teams or something and do the polls and etc. At the same time, training is not a one event, it's a journey. So what have you sent before the training? What are you doing during the training? And what are you following it up with that? So that exactly will be there. And I always ask for the dashboard. So that is where we use a lot of Power BI and dashboards so that I come to know that what is the outcome of course, it has been forced by audit to us, but I love it. Besides this, we also promote collaborative learning because today's generation, they are on LinkedIn, and yesterday's generation, they're still not on LinkedIn. I'm surprised, but then we do a reverse mentoring kind of thing. That is how. But let me share with you, yesterday's generation is now catching up. And they like to be on LinkedIn, but they need to learn about all these aspects. Yesterday I was at NASCOM meeting and one of the panel, and the LinkedIn representative was there. She was talking that we have to ensure that whatever skilling we are doing, we are focusing only on tech skills. Can you tell me which is the top skill which is required as per the LinkedIn data? Which is the top skill? Come on. It's not a Greek or German.
Soft skills.
Soft skills, can you name the soft skills, please?
Communication.
Communication. What else? Behavioral is again a soft skill.
Interpersonal.
Emotional intelligence, very good. Interpersonal, very nice. Leadership. So, number one skill which is required as per LinkedIn is adaptability. Adaptability, whether you are a Gen Z or whether you are a baby boomer, you have to be adaptable at a scenario, and we have to create that need in the audience or participants accordingly. Besides this, of course, when we are doing these initiatives, we do recognize and give incentives also. And let me share with you for our LMS when we launched called Vocademy, we did, earlier it was WGD, but for that, whenever they complete a particular journey, we have a recognition programs every quarter, and we bring out the people and give certificates and other aspects of it. I think I've spoken enough, and I will give back to you.
So when we have somebody who is already a certified learner, we will want to continue with him for one more. So my next question to you, Rishi, is that see, a lot of things that we do, right? We implement programs, etc. People learn. You would recognize them. End of the day, how does that learning, etc., come back to the workplace? So my question, therefore, is how do we really implement the change through all the interventions that we have done?
Good. Let me again start with another dialogue. My name is Bond, James Bond. So that dialogue, when I saw James Bond movie, it stuck over here. Learning is also has to be repeated again and again, so that it is recall easy. In the marketing, there is a term called aided recall, and there is a spontaneous voluntary recall. आपको पूछूंगा मैं कि top which is a favorite toothpaste, कौन सा बता रहा है तुम्हारे? So that is unaided recall. Similarly, we have to create our learning designs in such a manner that it is unaided recall kind of thing. So learning professionals also have to be marketers. So that is something which I would mention about it, and how we market a program, it makes a lot of difference. And very, very important part which I like to mention here is that we have a transparent communication. That is something which is important. And transparent communication, I don't mean that you send the communication accordingly. we publish a dashboard every month and it goes to all the employees. And that calendar to sab log karte honge, training calendar, annual calendar, all those aspects are there. But publishing a dashboard is something totally different. So these are some of the aspects which I always initiate, and at the same time engage employees early. That is the second tip which I am suggesting you. When they join, we have a program called E-Adharshila. Okay, when they join, we already gamify that perspective. Earlier it was a physical program which we used to go to Aurangabad, and we were spending almost 25 to 30 lakhs per annum for onboarding employees, because दो दिन का एक game होता था and engaging. Definitely it has a different attraction. But when pandemic came, we learned and we said, okay, attrition भी बढ़ गया है, तो cost भी कम करनी है, and we started doing e-onboarding. But now we come out with a solution which is again e-Adharshila, which is even much better, and it is AI based, but at the same time it is gamified. So that is where you have to start engaging the employees early when they join. So it is not that day one ko you just give them a laptop and do it, but I do in a hybrid manner. So there is a HR manager and there is a L&D manager who, at some places, so there is a person present who will take them through that and gamify that process accordingly. Besides this, lead by example. For example, in case there is some certification happening, at least HR and L&D managers should certify themselves first, which is unlike in many of the organizations. वो कहते हैं हमारा काम सर्टिफाई करना नहीं है, हमको सर्टिफिकेशन करना नहीं, हमका करवाना है हमारा काम. भैया पहले तो आप खुद तो कर लो. That is something which is very, very important. And of course, monitoring and of course success celebrations. These are some of the aspects which I always promoted. I hope I did my justice, sir.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Now, that brings me to another perspective. So whatever we do in organizations, right? Call it interventions, call it, any kind of processes. Things work or don't work based on what is that intrinsic, I'm relating to culture, in the organization. So I come to Vaibhav. So every organization has their own cultures, if I may. So how do you think organizations can leverage their unique culture and of course the values to create to create a better EX, employee experience for their people?
As we mentioned, culture plays a very, very critical role. Culture drives our policies, culture drives our decisions, culture drives our business interventions. So culture becomes a very, very critical for any organization. If I talk about Toshiba, we have 4 core values. So those 4 core values are like, first is do the right thing. Okay. Second is look for a better way. Third is always consider the impact. And fourth is create together. So the entire organization, not only my organization, but the entire Toshiba group works around these 4 core values. And we'll do a lot of thrust on making sure that each and every employee in our organization undergoes the training of those cultural values. Because we want to imbibe each and every employee. Because see, in my organization, we work with a lot of technicians. These guys are the backbones for us. And unless until these guys understand what is the core value, it's not going to drill down to the lowest level. Secondly, particularly for Japanese, I'm working with this company for the last about 12 years. And we have done a lot of interventions to imbibe those way of life, Japanese way of life, not only to employees, but also to the families. So that what happens, even if as an employee, I know what happens in a Japanese company or Japanese working or Japanese life. But if it goes down to my family also, that makes a lot of difference. I'll give you an example. My son is about 14 years old. He plays football. So whenever I talk to him, I always ask him, what you did better today? How you made a difference to your game today? Have you evaluated your role or your performance today? Now this comes from Japanese way of thinking. They always talk about quality, always talk about time management, and that makes a huge difference in a cultural fitment. Second point, what I want to talk about here is when we talk about culture, culture is like it's an aura. We always like to have that aura around us. That makes me feel good factor, and that also helps me to be there in the organization. To give you one more example here, we are about 12-year-old company in India. We have about 1,000 plus employees with us. And I'm proudly saying that over about 50% of the people are here with us for more than 5 years. And that gives me a lot of pride to say that, because it's all depends on, see, opportunities everyone has. Unless until you tap those opportunities, you give them an opportunity to do better. You give them opportunity, to involve yourself into, which is more meaningful to the organization as well as to the society. And that's what we work upon. And that's how it makes lot of difference for employees also to get connected culturally.
Great thoughts, Vaibhav. I'll come to Neha now. Neha, we just a couple of minutes ago we spoke about the multi-generational workforce, right? And now the swing is going towards the Gen Zs. How do you think that what are the biggest challenges that organizations like yours, or generally organizations will face in India, we rather harboring the world's youngest workforce today, in terms of strategies, etc., to have the younger people engaged.
If we talk about the Gen Z, overhyped people. So if you come across any Gen Z, they'll pretend firstly the impression, the body language which they'll give you, हमें सब आता है. Have you seen? Try talking to any Gen Z. Okay, little overconfident. Little, very much overconfident, I would say. They say, it's a balloon full of air. If you try to go in depth now, the base is not there for Gen Z or maybe millennials also, I would say, for that particular reason. I belong to one, so I know that. After years and years of training and all, I came to know, okay, fine. I know something, that is the skill. I might know, but then your skill has to be sharpened on a daily basis. Right? Who can do that? A person who has the experience can do that very well. Now Gen Z, if you ask them to sit for any of the training for the entire day, they say why? I can log into YouTube, I can go to LinkedIn, I can go anywhere and I can learn it. Why should I spend my 6 hours in a training room over there and then the person would be writing on a board? Because if you see the difference now, the person who is teaching, much more matured, much more experienced, will follow the pen and the book method, will write on the board, will try to teach you a theory, how you can sustain for a longer time. Now if you come to the Gen Z, these are the people fatafat, 10 minutes, finish it off. How is their retention power? So for Gen Z, if you have to do any training programs for them, the retention power of that training has to sustain for a very long time. Okay? And particularly for them, because of the age gap, and when Sir was also saying, so not every audience has to be trained in a similar manner. So if I am conducting anything, when I have to deal with people of, higher side on the age, the way I'll talk or maybe conduct anything will be different. Because there is an acceptance. There is an acceptance that, okay, there is a void and there is a gap. Why I'm sitting in this training, why I have to fill that? Gen Z, no. They come with a mindset, what is the profitability in that? Okay? Usually I say that. So, also, what Weber was talking about the culture, okay? They don't understand the culture, by the way. Okay? For them, there is no culture. Their culture is what is my profit, what runs in my favor is the culture of the organization. You try talking to any one of them. Ask them to define the culture of the company. They can't define. Okay? Because, and also, if you ask the senior most person of the company, what is the culture of the company? Very rarely a person would be able to define what is the culture. Because culture of an MD and chairman is different. Culture of a department is different because the HOD is different. The culture of an individual is also different. So when we say a cultural misfit, वो misfit नहीं होता actually. The thing is, if my thought process matches with your thought process, I am a best employee for this company. Otherwise, it's not a culture. The company And Gen Z and all, no. They are like, first salary we got, tell me, can you give me, pick up and drop services? Can you provide me food? What is working in my favor? Give me this kind of increment. Company standard is still there. I am not able to understand what this company standards mean, because their contribution in that company standard is nil. They haven't done anything in that. But their mentality is such that you can't retain them for a very long time. You provide them anything, best of the training, you send them to IIMs, you spend that they'll become your future workforce. It's very difficult actually nowadays. They won't, because they want the changes to happen. They are very, change, immediately change. This department now I have done. So I've seen HODs who have stayed in the department for 14 years, still trying to understand things on a daily basis, new things. And I've also seen people who have come maybe 2-3 years of experience, they come and say, Mera sab ho gaya hai karke. Now I'm done and dusted. I know everything about the department. Can you please change my department? I said, okay, you understood everything? Okay, yes, now I'm done. I can make it. Now I want independent role. Okay, a person with 5 years of experience also want an independent role. This is your Gen Z. So for them, what works is, whatever training you are doing, you can't make them, since you can't make them sit for a longer time, and they are not a bookish kind of a person, so e-learning best works for them, because while traveling they can see, you do your e-learning, certification and all rewards. Wherever there is a reward, it perks them up. Give them the reward, they'll start doing everything, because then they can put it on LinkedIn, they can put it on social media, that they have elevated themselves. The feeling of elevation works best with your Gen Z. It won't work best with your experienced employees. For them, the value matters. Do you value that their presence is there? For them, that is the retention. Okay? For your Gen Z, values is not a retention. Reward them, and that is their retention. That is how their mentality works actually.
Great. Awesome. Now, we spoke about online, we spoke about e-learning. That brings me to the digital platforms. So, Shabana, once again from the tech space. So, what role can these platforms, LMSs or any other digital platforms, play in actually supporting the skilling initiatives, and with the focus on continuous learning, and maybe a little bit of, not a little bit, maybe promoting inclusivity?
Absolutely. I think, Neha touched a bit upon the kind of group that we're addressing, the Gen Z and their different demands. I mean, when we look at talent today, you try to acquire, their demands are completely different. It's much beyond salary and benefits now, right? What is the value that I'm going to get? How am I going to grow in this organization? Where will I be in the next 2 years? What position can you offer me? These kind of questions candidates ask you during interviews, right? And especially one with the dynamic of the group that you're addressing in terms of the demographic, plus also the geographical landscape of the talent. You're hiring talent maybe from different places. So digitalizing learning is the way to go, right? And there's a myriad of offers today. Imagine like a library full of, learning material, which is on demand, which is customized to what I need, and I can do it anytime, anywhere, and 24/7, whether I'm traveling or whatever. So that's the power of digital platforms. And I would say if organizations are not leveraging that, there's really a miss there. So like I said, there are a lot of platforms there, and they offer everything from bite-size, courses that have a lot of interaction, collaboration opportunities as well. And from a perspective of inclusion, I think while you can bring everything to the table as a platform, it's important to make sure that the platform is providing that equal opportunity and inclusion as well. So thinking about co-workers that may be differently abled, thinking about co-workers whose learning styles are different, because there will be co-workers who will learn. So courses or platforms that offer courses with closed captions or text-to-speech options, keyboard navigation options are definitely in the play that you need to think from a perspective of inclusion. From an inclusion perspective, it's also important to take into consideration language requirements, right? So whether the platform that you are selecting has those opportunities to expand language concerns, is it sensitive to cultural requirements across different dynamics, is the content culturally sensitive, whether it is, countries, regions, or even local? Is the content using inclusive language overall? So taking all these things into consideration, I think digital platforms is a great way to leverage the learning requirements of the generation that we are dealing with today.
Just to bring in a point over here that I think a couple of months ago, if I'm not wrong, around October, November, there's a McKinsey study that came up, which was about digital offerings and impact of call it AI, GI, etc. Interesting thing that came that across the world, yeah, more than 80% of people classified under PWDs or people classified as diverse, LGBTQIA. More than 80% of them are actually openly preferring digital learning, opportunities to learn digitally, incidentally opportunities to even face interviews digitally. So just wanted to bring in that context because awareness on these topics are actually now gaining momentum, therefore it's better for us to be prepared. Okay, now question for the audience. Are you a digital dinosaur? Show of hands, please. Are you a digital dinosaur? Yes?
Not many.
Okay, we are talking of digital platforms and platforms to support learning. I'll go to Rishi to basically chew his brains because he knows how not to be a digital dinosaur. I'm referring to the book that he has authored. It is actually called the Are You a Digital Dinosaur? It's available on Amazon if you like, but then all yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Even I was taken aback by the question. Yeah, this book is very close to me. I wrote this first book in 9 months like a baby. And Are You a Digital Dinosaur? And it became Amazon bestseller. All the profits of the book I've donated to the foundation supporting widows of Indian Army. So before I begin, let me ask you to solve a small riddle. Okay, no calculators from the mobile, please. There is one bat and there is one ball. Together their price is 1 rupee 10 paisa. Got it? Okay. Difference between the two prices is 1 rupee. What is the cost of ball and bat? Maths में सब लोग fail हुए थे लगता है. Come on, think. Together the price is 1 rupee 10 paisa. The difference between the two prices is 1 rupee. The price of bat is higher than ball. Sorry? 1 rupee. 10 paisa for the ball. How many of you say 1 rupee and 10 paisa for the ball? 20 paisa. Okay, I will not give the answer right away. During lunchtime, I can give you the answer. Coming to the digital platforms, let me start. Why I've asked this question is because we're so much dependent on calculators and other aspects that mentally we stop calculating accordingly. And that's what you're giving is a cognitive response, basically, commonsensical response. But the answer is a little different. Digital platforms, I like to share that we have a very good success story. And when we launched the WGNI, I think my friend Sushil has got a lot of case studies of digitizing the whole systems and process. So although I'm a digital maverick from learning and development, but at the same time, I have little caution also that digitizing too much of content can have a repercussion also. But at the same time, there is a, pros and cons because if you really want to have a reach, a company like TCS or Reliance, they can't have, physical face-to-face in-person sessions. So actually it is required to digitize. But at our level, I have launched a program called WGNI and Vocademy at the same time Saba. So the the compliance rate of these is 95% without carrot and stick. Okay, without carrot and stick, which is very good in fact. But at the same time, I will also like to mention here, because few points I like to mention about the platform. I make sure that it is accessible in a app, be it Android or be it iOS. Easily do it. At the same time, we also ensure that it is available, you can log into even when you are in no network zone. Basement में होता है के बार तो you, so our sales guys, our manufacturing guys at the shop floor, so they can also access it even if there's no network. The app kind of thing is there. Personalization is very, very important. Now she mentioned about that particularly senior guys and the young guys are much easier, they adapt to technology faster. So it is important how I can personalize it, and we use a term called adaptive skills. There was some time ago which there was a English speaking app, I forgot the name. Before pandemic it was launched. Jaipur se thi wo, bahut achhi app thi. The moment you log into that, they will take a test of you and they will find out what is your level of learning, English speaking. So I got an idea from there, and similarly I built it into my solution. It is a kind of gamification also, and it is also telling me what is my level of learning. Typically, if those who are not in pharmaceuticals, we have different systems in our body, neurology system, then we have got cardiac system, we got renal system. दिल की बातें तो बहुत लोग करते हैं, लेकिन cardiac system को समझते नहीं हैं. So that is something which is important, and we then ensure that we give a personalization to the learners accordingly. Then of course we have to ensure interactivity and engagement. What I've done is recently I have introduced a coaching platform in which if he is my boss, I will record a video of mine. Suppose I am appearing for US FDA audit, I will record a video of mine. That platform will act as auditor and I will answer those questions. He will see that how accurate I am. Even the platform can give me the answers to it, what my rating is there. So that is how it is, and he can also rate it, and that L&D manager can also rate me accordingly. So I have a score across India, across the division, who's a leaderboard in that, and we recognize those leaders who perform into that. And there is another aspect is the social learning part. Now we have created some kind of internal Facebook. It is not the trainer who knows everything. Our together 5 people have much better understanding. So person sitting in Guwahati can also give a solution to the person sitting in Mumbai or in Kerala. So that is something we create a social learning platform. This is increasing the engagement aspect. And the final aspect I like to mention is the multilingual also has to be. Although my platform is not multilingual, but it should be there. But we prefer a lot of English in our platform, but if it is there, it is all the more better. And diverse content is important, that is something. So my platforms have helped me win 2 awards, very popular awards. One is Golden Peacock Award, 2018 and again 2019. And second was People Matters Award, particularly for onboarding part of. We call it WOW program. WOW, I have a lovely story, sir, 30 seconds. WOW is Work Hard Orientation Workshop. So luckily W word is there from Work Hard. So मैं बोलता हूँ आप लोग ट्राई मत करो, कुछ और बन जाएगा.
Awesome. Now, one thing that we always see at workplace, and maybe, the HR stroke talent teams being observant, we see it much more than others, are the glass walls, the silos at the workplaces. So, however, when we are looking at the overall picture, these can actually be big derailers, right? So, I'd want to pick Neha's brain on this. How do you think, what strategies do you think organizations can take to break down these silos and promote the collaboration?
Silos, basically. Who will create a silo? Basically, up to an extent.
Leaders create silos.
Leaders create silos.
Absolutely.
Or the typical example is experts create silos. If you see an expert, they typically create a silos. And it's not out of, they are aware. It's an unconscious silos, by the way. It's not, their intent is not there to create a silo. But by nature, because they have something, they possess that knowledge, it gives them that sense that I have to protect it. So even when they pass on the information to their team, they'll make sure the team also don't go outside and talk to anyone. Okay, these are the people who create silos. They are the protector of their own knowledge. I don't know why, but they do that. ये मेरा टीम है, मेरी knowledge है, बाहर नहीं जानी चाहिए. ये मेरा paper है. I still don't understand when you're working in the organization, how did that thing become yours? It is organizations, right? But people still believe वो silos होना चाहिए. And also some people, they go by this definition, there should be silos in some department, they should work like that. Like design department, they should work in silos. Particularly, if we talk about the real estate, R&D department and all, there are certain departments you should work in silos. HR for some reason who are working in operations, your HR head or maybe your chairman or MD of the company also wouldn't want you to be very vocal. Because when you, when you become very vocal, there is a tendency, it's a human nature, some or the other way while talking, you will leak some or the other information, which is very crucial, critical. You will not understand because हर एक best friend का एक और best friend होता ही बनेगा ना. मेरा एक best friend है, उसका भी एक best friend है, उसका भी एक और best friend है. So वो आपसे पता चला, इससे पता चला, उससे पता चला. So that's how they protect the information. So this is a good part. Okay, silos. Now what happens? Sometimes silos are being created deliberately. Now who creates silos? These are all individual contributors. If you see, we keep promoting people, right? These are experts in their field. Based on their knowledge, we are so mesmerized, we promote them, right? But from the junior level, they have always worked within themselves. They have worked on themselves. They have groomed themselves. So, जब आप ऐसे लोगों को, when you give them a team, how do they behave with them? They try to control it. That's how the silos are being made. Okay? So what happens when you start giving team to such people? They can never become a great manager. An expert, it's a very rare case, an expert becomes a very great manager because उसको disseminate करना पड़ता है अपना सारा knowledge to 1, 2, 3 level down. Difficult for the person to do that because there is a fear ये expert ना बन जाए. Right? There is always a fear, ना? Insecurity. There is an insecurity. कोई मेरे जैसा बन गया तो indispensability कैसे create होगी? How organization will run behind me? वो chairman MD मेरा पाँव पकड़ के कैसे लटकेगा if I am leaving the organization? I have to be indispensable. Indispensability is equals to silos and equals to disaster. Should never do that. Okay? So never create too much of an experts in your organization. Create 1 or 2 where it is required. क्योंकि वहाँ पे exclusivity भी आ जाती है. You have to keep all the angles in your mind. It's not bad. Keep silos, but restrict it to a limit where you can use it. It shouldn't get abused against you only. That because your competitors will definitely eye for that one person who has that uniqueness. Right? Your USP is from that person. Agree? But if your USP goes out, वो silos फिर से तो वहाँ भी लेके जाने वाला है. That silo वाला person, since because he has taught that another 5-10 people, he'll make sure he takes that 5-10 people along with him. उसकी प्रजा है, उसकी पढ़ाई है, उसने पढ़ा लिखा के बड़ा किया हुआ है, मेरे साथ लेके जाऊँगा मैं. That's how people poach. You see poaching? Yes. We all have seen that. Who does poaching, by the way? No. When a leader shifts the job, person who is there in power, who shifts the job, those people who are highly insecure, who cannot build team of their own, does poaching. Okay? If you don't have the strength to make your team again, to work on them again, to teach them again, that continuous learning and all we talk about, these people does the poaching. पहले पढ़ाया हुआ है, सीखा सिखाया आ जाएगा. I need not put too much of efforts in training that person again. उसको उठा के लेकर आते हैं. It will hit, that term we use very hit the ground running. What hit the ground running? किसी का लेकर आ रहे हो? That's not hit the ground running. That's called stealing, by the way. Stealing of talent. That's not hit the ground running. So, silos, how you can break it? Break is you can do a matrix level reporting. Okay? Different organizations. So make that boss who creates silos now, make that boss work across the function. because then a person who is working in a silo, कि ये one है, or silo is one, okay? The moment you try to make that one person work with another five thing na, he'll think ये पांचों भी मेरा ही है. That these five are also my part. So always do a matrix reporting for such kind of people. It works in a very fantastic way. Okay? Because that way you'll try to control everything and everything will work accordingly. Either you can do a cross-functional reporting. Cross-functional reporting also works best. So not for a particular project for a very long time. Define a time limit. Maybe some project I need expert from this department, and make sure you target that person who loves to work in silos because they are your experts also. Okay? Make a team of them, make them work for 2 months, 3 months and all. Not a major difference will happen, but some dent you will be able to make. Some dent. The instant change won't happen because that's by nature. That's made. It's difficult, but you can break that after some time. Kuch to difference dikhega. So that's how. Two things. Matrix reporting works the best. Cross-functional works the best. Make that expert the leader of other people. That also works the best. So these are the terminologies I have seen myself. I've tried and tested. Works good.
Thanks for sharing the toolkit, Neha. I'll come to Vaibhav. Now, staying on this whole point of silos, silos tend to be created much more also when we are working hybrid. Vaibhav. So what are your thoughts on this?
Whether it's hybrid or otherwise, it doesn't make a difference. That's what my personal opinion is. Because end of the day, we have to ensure that we work together. When we talk about cross-functional, so as Neha rightly said, leadership makes a lot of difference here. Unless and until the leaders are aligned to each other, they think from a same point of view, they think from an organization point of view, silos are going to be there for sure. And once the leaders are aligned, I'm sure the team also get aligned accordingly. If suppose HR and operations is not aligned, I'm sure the team between the HR and operations will never get aligned. So that always makes a difference. Second point is there is always a conflict. So how do we handle this conflict? That's also very, very critical. To avoid those conflicts, it's always better to have agenda. What kind of a agenda we are driving as an individual function or as an organization. That will make a difference to avoid those silos. Because end of the day, we'll be working towards one common goal of betterment of an organization. Third point here is that unless and until you have a very, very clear competencies to handle conflict management. So there is a conflict. What I say may not be agreed to him. But end of the day, his point is also right and my point is also right. So how do we handle that conflict during this cross-functional meeting? That will also help to have, avoid those silos interactions. That's what my point is. Right. Rest of the thing, I think Neha has already covered most of the things.
Great. We just shift gears a little bit. We have been hearing the term leadership, leaders for quite some time, and leadership is probably my take once again, all about behaviors. How we behave at a workplace, what we create around us is actually our leadership. I'll go to, no, I'll not pull your leg once again. I'll go to Rishi. And I'm asking this specifically from the angle of leadership. Basically, what styles, behaviors have you seen or would you suggest that will drive the workplace culture the way the organization wants to be? And I would want you to, if you can, bring in the aspect of coaching, you yourself being an ICF certified one. How does all of this fall in place in shaping the leadership of the organization?
Sure. Very interesting question. We had a poll also, different leadership styles. But before that, let me share with you one incident or ask you a question. What is the biggest tragedy for an employee is when he or she resigns and joins another company, and he finds that his boss has also joined. Because of him, he has resigned the company. So that is the biggest tragedy. So leadership styles, my dear friend, I can give you a number of styles which are there. because of which you can create an engaging, employee force. There can be inclusive leadership style. There can be collaborative leadership style. I'll talk these numbers. I'll just throw the names only. There can be adaptive leadership style. There can be transparent leadership style. There can be learning-oriented leadership style. There can be visionary leadership style. I think you saw the poll also over there. There can be a resilient leadership style. But I am most sold on one of the leadership theories for which I am certified. It is called situational leadership. How many of you heard about situational leadership? SL2. Okay. If you have not heard about it or not gone through, please go through it. I take up special pro bono sessions on it, about 1 to 2 hours. You're welcome to invite for that. And situation leadership talks about the definition of situation leadership is what is the frequency of contact with my team member. It is not subordinate, it is my team member with respect to performance and development. So that is one best leadership style which we call it, and it has got, I'm not getting into details about it, that I always as a leader ask maybe Neha, भाई आज का performance कितना हुआ, कितना detail हुआ, but did I talk to her yet? How you learning in the process, right? So I would like to, when I'm having a conversation, I should also focus on the developmental aspect also, that okay, these courses which have been allocated to you, how you finding it? डंडा नहीं रहे कि अरे कोर्स कंप्लीट कर ले नहीं तो वरना गब्बर सिंह आ जाएगा. So those are the aspects that I have to be collaborative in my approach for performance also and for development also. And as she was mentioning out that, when we pick up people from other company, we normally pick up people as per situation leadership, D4 style people who are highly engaged, highly, D4 styles are called horses, Arabian horses, ready to do it. But as per SL2, it says that even if I pick up D4 person ready to market, I have to, he or she has to go from D1 level. So it depends upon the leader, how I will engage even a performing employee from the previous company into a performing employee in my current company. Because it has been seen, it's a fact also, and in LinkedIn also it has been mentioned many surveys, that an employee who is performing in A company may not be a performer in a B company. And it is only because of a leader. That is, how many of you agree with this? Right? So that's a fact, and it all depends upon the leadership style. Now, we are 4 of us sitting here. For a particular task, if Sanjeev gives us, I may be at D1 level, D2 level, D3 level, D4 level, the people. So he will have to use a different style for everybody of us for a particular task of making PowerPoint presentations. So you can't have, one scale for everybody. So it says different strokes for different folks for the same task. So that is the ultimate theme, and I think I can keep on talking about SL2. It's very passionate about it. I use it a lot during my coaching sessions on one-on-one coaching, and SL2 part goes in hand with coaching. Thank you.
Okay, we now touch upon maybe the last subject of the discussion, and that is about talent management. So once again, if I use this term talent management, all Googling, all ChatGPT are going to give us probably similar types of results, but actually handling that in our day-to-day lives, friends, we all know how different it is. I am consciously not using the term difficult. Solver तो हम सब लोग हैं ना, कर देते हैं हम. But so, I'll just come to Neha first, that talent management in general and creating the pipeline, creating the talent pipeline, successes in specific, what strategies would you suggest would help organizations?
Any HR person, or anyone, I would say, they feel talent management would start after a particular stage. Okay, the employee would spend almost a year in the organization, then the talent management would start, or maybe some time in the organization, then the talent management would start. It doesn't happen like that. Your talent management starts from day one. The day the employee came into the system, that is your talent, and now you have to manage it till the time the life cycle of that person remains in the organization. So the start thing is your integration. idle for that duration. The person has no option to go around and talk to other people. He'll do that. For 9 hours, what would you do? Okay, I gave you the chart. You have to meet this person 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll make sure I'll go and introduce that individual to that person that okay, your joinee has come. This person is joining your team. I might as well introduce that individual to the team, nothing beyond that. Now it's your road, please start walking. Don't expect me to run behind you, okay, please usko integrate kar lo. Okay? Because everybody would have seen not every joining goes very seamlessly. You'll find issue in one of the other joinees where there is a difference of opinion. The person didn't like the joining, the person didn't like the manager only, didn't like the job profile. Okay, you might entertain. So the first person, I would say, the Spock contact is HR. The person will come running to you. Okay, he has not met anybody in the organization. So all you say, mother, father is HR that day. I have not got this 1, 2, 3, 4 promised by you. So you ultimately become a culprit. मेरी जिंदगी आपकी वजह से खराब हो. I have absolutely no clue मैंने किया क्या. Because we don't know ना. You told me to recruit a person. You hired the person. There can be difference of opinion from both the side by the way. From the manager also who took the interview. Okay. From the person who gave the interview also. This is called collateral damage. HR didn't do anything. Just a facilitator. But the damage is done और वो जितनी भी पर्ची हो आप पे पड़ेगी. That is very much common. So what you can do is in such cases, or what usually I do, I make them, okay, this is your 3-day plan, go and meet around people. Okay, understand a body will be given to you. It is a responsibility of that person to make sure you go around in the organization, meet different people, or maybe shadowing works in that case. You shadow the person, whomsoever either you're reporting to or your body. See, try to integrate yourself because the thing that is done by you with your initiative lasts longer. Because when I introduce a person, I'm using my loyalty with that individual. Right? When I ask time that, okay, if I'm calling maybe somebody very senior in the organization, that I want your time to make you meet this person, the person has joined your team. The person will give the time. Because it's not the new person, it's about me, who's on the call. I'm using my credibility to get that person introduced in the system. Okay? But how many times will I use that credibility? Maybe once, twice. For the third time, the person has to do that job on his own. So he has to start building it. So my introduction done. That is, the integration is very important. If your integration should happen right and it shouldn't look like an interference. That is one. Second thing, how talent management work is, from the individual contributor role when the person goes to a managerial role. That is a big shift because now along with you, you have to handle another resource and groom that individual. It's not an easy thing. रातों रात कुछ बदलता नहीं है. I am the same individual. I was getting trained by somebody and I have to train another 3 individuals. The first question is what to do with them. I don't know. And organization has to justify your cost, your position, your designation, so definitely you will get a reporting, right? The way you are good, you are being groomed, make sure, the pipeline when you say it's maintained, something should flow from that pipeline and that is knowledge. Keep spreading your knowledge to that other 3 people also so they also grow. So the success of a junior people actually depends on your manager. I have seen, if you want to just see a success of a department, anybody we can see, you make an HOD sit and a very junior person talk in front of him. If the person doesn't have a reluctance to talk, now that department is the best one. That's an open department. But where you see, the person is shaking, I've never seen this individual in my life, that's not a right culture actually. The HOD might be good, but the culture we talk about, that's not good. So the shift, that second shift in the career of any working professional happens is from individual contributor to a manager because now you have to train that another person. The third most important talent pipeline which we create is when you shift a person from an operational role to a strategic role. Right? Operational is something that you do individually. Strategizing is not something that you can do individually because when you strategize something, you have to keep 1,000 things in mind. Operational Strategy, you have to make and get it executed. Strategy, you have to use other people to execute. Operation, you can do it yourself because you are the creator. Strategy, you have to get it done from other people. So 3 stages, this is the best way to create a talent pipeline because that is growth actually in general. What people say compensation, remuneration, that's not growth, but okay, you can't make masses understand, that's how they see. Okay, what comes in hand, that's growth. So this is not growth, this is growth. This is how you grow. In life, in your career, in your professional work also. From operation to strategy, from individual contributor to a manager, maybe this is how leaders are also made. This is exactly the way a leader, the journey of a leadership happens. और कहीं से लीडर बाहर से नहीं आएगा, वहीं पे बनता है. And make sure जो वहीं पे बन रहा होता है, if you have given the best experience to your leader, they'll make sure that I am giving the best experience in return to other people. If it's a bad experience, don't expect anything good coming out from that person. It is like garbage in, garbage out. What you have given me will go out. If you see a very adaptable leader with you, best thing, actually. So a leader should also know what to do, when to do and how to do. Very important. किसके साथ क्या करना है, कब करना है, नहीं करना है. That is. And what not to do is must actually. Even if you once forget what you have to do, that is also okay. What not to do is a prime thing. You should always know that. Like you should know कि आपको क्या नहीं करना है. Where you have to say no. Even if you once forget कहाँ पे हाँ बोलना है, that is okay. But you should always remember where to say no. Now I can't do that. Right? So saying that no is must. So this is the way you can create a talent pipeline.
The tech space is known to have benches, create pipelines, etc. But however we see when it comes to this kind of, call it replacements and all, there's still dependence on external talent. So, Sahana, I would want to chew your brains on this now.
Of course. So, everybody is aware about talent pipeline creation, HR space, right? So we would do whatever strategies, 9-box create, you identify your high potentials, you create succession plans and stuff. What happens after is really the key, and that's the missing piece, I would say, in terms of why we still keep running for talent outside. And when you just mentioned tech space, it could also be about technical skills, So is the right kind of upskilling and reskilling happening in the organization? What are we doing for that? That is one of the talent strategies that you need to apply. Are we really looking for the future skills that people in our organization will require? What are those skills? In the digital space, is it AI, or data analytics, critical thinking, non-technical skills, design thinking? Are these things that are going to be required in the future? And then how are we planning? How are we doing an assessment of the current skill set of our co-workers? What is the gap and how are we preparing them to upskill and reskill themselves? That is one of the strategies that need to be employed. I really liked what Neha said about, how are we preparing our leaders? And I'd like to share an example here is that in TD Synex, we run a program which is called as LEAD. Okay, it's a leadership development program. And the theme of the program is simple. We have certain behaviors that we expect all our co-workers, whether it is individual contributors or leaders, to exhibit. And they're called servant leadership in action behaviors. Okay, so it's about, for leaders, it is about leading other people. For executives, it is about leading organizations. And for individual contributors, it's about leading self. Okay, so you're a leader in whatever space you're operating in, and you have to understand the servant leadership in action behaviors. So what we do is we run a capsule of programs across the board, right from executive VPs to the lower, junior most co-worker goes through this program. And they have to ensure, leaders have to ensure. We also supplement with reinforcement. So there is reinforcement communications that go. And to cater to the different learning needs, what we have done is we have gamified the reinforcement. For individual contributors, it's a self-learning journey where they answer questions and quizzes to really retain that knowledge. So what we are doing is not just preparing people to imbibe these behaviors today in their current roles, but also preparing them for these behaviors or having these behaviors as they move into the ladder, in their progression. It's also a norm that we follow, that development plans have to be created for anybody who's in a talent pipeline. So if you've identified a talent pipeline for yourself. And the other thing that we really encourage leaders is to follow the 70-20-10 model in the development plans. Okay, if all of you have heard about the 70-20-10 model of adult learning, 70% of it is workplace learning. So leaders are forced to think about projects, stretch assignments, intra or interdepartmental, opportunities for the team members that they're identifying through, be able to learn through that experiential learning. Social learning, there are mentoring opportunities. How are we leveraging those? So are you pairing up your, most experienced co-workers with your high potential, either newcomers or the talent that we're organizing? Creating those kind of programs and, making those opportunities available is another strategy that can be employed. I mean, in the digital world today, we have a lot of data that we collect, right? Like Rishi sir mentioned earlier, there are these learning programs that people go through and we collate all that information. What are we really bringing out from that data that is speaking to us? What are those skill gaps? And are we really looking at what are the future skills and, trying to match those gaps and providing those opportunities is the key really. And from a perspective of talent management, I agree, talent management starts from the day one when the person comes on board. Now, whether it is a singular HR department that does everything, is a generalist function, or you have functions that are very clearly defined. So you have TA, you have TM, you have business partnering roles. But the collaboration between all of these groups to make sure that the approach for the talent from the day one that they come in is important. So whether it is the onboarding program, it is the integration that's happening, what is the information that you're bringing to the table for the newcomer when they come in the first 90 days, right? The buddies are doing their work, they're giving them the comfort, imbibing them into the organization, manager is doing. But as an organization, are you creating awareness for the vision and the strategy of the organization? Are we creating that connect for that newcomer to say, how am I contributing to this vision? How am I contributing to this strategy? That's where it all kind of boils down, right? So as talent management, we play a role right from that word go and through the journey. Transitioning from IC role to manager role is another crucial step, of course. And I like to share here that in TD Cinex, we have a program which is called as New Leader Boost. Okay, so irrespective of whether you are a manager who's kind of an individual contributor getting promoted to a manager role, or you're joining in new as a manager role, you go through this. So it's a capsule of things which includes all of it, including servant leadership and action behaviors, your role as a manager, and now how do you employ all of this. Another thing that we also do, and I should mention this, is a program called Better Conversations Every Day. And it's just simple things that we do every day: active listening, asking powerful questions, challenging and supporting, and establishing next steps and accountability, okay? But we harp on this very clearly, and it is across for all the levels, just so that by reinforcing these behaviors into day-to-day, interactions, everybody can develop that affinity to demonstrate these behaviors. So this is kind of some of the things, when you're doing a particular program or something, I would say it has to go through the thread of the organization and not just maybe for a leadership. There would be separate programs that you do just for leadership. But when you're talking about culture building, when you're talking about behavior change, when you're talking about talent imbibing, there has to be this common thread that everybody talks the same language, like we say, So when we talk about communication, it should be the same language. When we talk about servant leadership, it should be the same language. So those are some examples of how talent management kind of plays a role from the beginning. Yeah.
Very nicely expressed, Shabana ji. I just wanted to add one point over here that, there's another aspect which, when you mentioned about rolling out the vision down the line, it's very, very important. And we have, it's work in progress. We can't say that it is 100%. But sharing the vision and making it in a powerful statement, that is very, very important. That's how the vision from CEO to the frontliner is, percolated down the line. And for that, we have a program called Ownership and Accountability. And it's a wonderful program which I always advise that the L&D specialist HR, they should roll it out down the line. And since the time is up, I will not take much time. But जाने से पहले एक बोलना चाहूँगा कि दो couplet है कि every leader is a leader, every person is a leader in the organization. So there is a couplet, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. So अपने आप को इतना asset specific कर लो कि आप कहीं भी होगे, you are successful and you showing ownership and accountability. Thank you.
Show khatam. No, well, amazing, amazing learnings for me. So thank you, each one of you. I don't know, we have actually surpassed a bit our time. Any questions? Maybe we can probably take outside, or if you're allowed a couple of questions, happy to go ahead. Any quick questions anybody has, or?
Hello, hi. My name is Anusha. I'm working with NEC Software Solution. We are an IT company. So my question basically is now with hybrid working and a lot of remote working, it becomes very difficult for for employees to understand the culture of the company. Culture is made by people. And when you are in office and you can see the culture flowing. So my question to the panel is, when people are working from home, as HR, what can we do to help employees to understand the culture of the organization, especially when they're working remotely all the time? They are not in a hybrid mode.
Yeah, hi Anusha. So let me make an attempt, yeah. See, 100% remote, and when the person is joining completely at home, they've never seen anybody. I would really say the responsibility of, exposing the coworker to the culture is not just HR, first and foremost. Let's be very clear of that. Let's not carry that baggage, okay? It's a joint collaboration, it's a joint responsibility between the manager who's hiring the coworker and HR. And like Neha said, HR is the person who's enabled the process, and then after that, it's the manager. Now, are we preparing the managers for that mindset is the first thing. So that's where it all has to start, not after the person joins. It's before the person joins, to make sure that the manager is aware कि ये मेरा responsibility and मेरा role इसमें क्या है. वो उसको बहुत clear करना है. So first and foremost, the manager का ownership है. Now from an HR perspective, and not just HR, maybe an organization and leadership perspective, I think the leaders and everybody in the organization carries that onus. Now, communication is a great way. How are we communicating the culture? To various ways. You have leaders sharing their inputs, about certain things, whether it is videos, whether it is communication through email. I mean, there are internal communication mediums that people use, right? We have something called as Current, which is a news channel that goes out. And we have channels and we have leaders sharing their inputs on everything. Now, whether we talk about servant leadership and behavior actions, whether we talk about our vision, whether we talk about our strategy, there are videos by leaders who can come out and talk about that. So when co-workers get to listen to them, hear different perspectives in real life work scenarios, how they have applied that behavior through some examples. So it's not just gyan that is coming, it's actually them sharing their experience about those behaviors and how they're applying it. That could be a great way. Interactive opportunities, in terms of digital learning that really take you through that experience of how do you demonstrate those behaviors in certain situations. So we have things like, there's a situation given and there are 5 options that the co-worker will choose from to say that this is the right way to handle this situation, aligned with how the organization's culture is. None of the answers are wrong. They're all different but not wrong. And then the answers that they see saying that, what was maybe best about this way and what could have been a different way. So these are kind of interactive tools that we have employed that really help co-workers understand as to how do I behave in these situations. Now, whether that is pertaining to behaviors, that you employ in day-to-day conversations, communications, whether it is compliance related, because when you're handling remotely, that's a big exposure that you're taking as well. I mean, do really people understand what are the norms, what are the boundaries, what not to do, right? So for those also we use those kind of situational training programs that really tell you this is the situation, now how do you handle it, these are the options. So in compliance obviously there are right and wrong answers, there can't be all right answers, but for behavioral obviously we have, you know, those kind of stuff. So these are some strategies that we have employed and they're working well for us, and we're a global organization with about 26,000 co-workers globally. So these are global efforts and that is how it's helping. Obviously it's work in progress, like we say, we evolve, we see requirement and we kind of change, but that's how we're doing it.
Can I add a point here?
Sure,
I mean, I'm not going to repeat what she said about engaging employees in a hybrid form. But there's one initiative I'd like to share. It is called Family Fun Days. So in this, what we do is every month, we have some kind of engagement where the employee is not supposed to participate, but employee's family member is supposed to participate. So for example, Glittering Gala, we did it at Christmas. Fauji Tambola, we did during 15th of August. We did, the Antakshari, and the family members have a lot of talent. And ideally, we are trying to bring in the, engagement through families. So it creates a lot of positivity in the organization and among the employees also. They feel good that their families are also being recognized. It is a virtual format, Zoom. And we get almost, as of now, 40% participation from all the employees' point of view. I think it is good benchmark from that perspective.
Okay, one last question.
If
please.
I may add, this is a very interesting question. I represent Reliance Jio, and we, post-pandemic, we had to move about 10,000 people who were working in 4 or 5 major metro cities to work from home model. I think the most important thing was culture and productivity and performance. Apart from what the leaders on the dais said, I think we need to have these connect programs where we call these people to our workplaces once a quarter at least and spend on their logistics and other things. Apart from that, have creatives and collaterals made like diaries, logos, some collaterals in terms of a workbook, which actually gets couriered to their home. We need to replicate the culture which is operating at our office to their homes and get the family involved. Over and above that, I think the ESS, which is the intranet portal, should be so much robust that for every information or every query which they would walk to the HR person and get it solved, it should be available on the HR internet so that they don't feel that need. So your HR query management, your grievance management, your escalation matrix have to be so robust that the need of the remote workforce vis-a-vis a hybrid model is nullified to a greater extent. But a lot of initiatives keep on going on, and there is a lot of technology available wherein the surveillance cameras are available, the noise monitoring cameras are available, where whether the person is really working on the laptop at home, whether he's really on the desktop at home, whether he is productive for 8-9 hours. A lot of tools have been made available in the market post-COVID pandemic to monitor their performance. A lot of things going on, and we should keep on improving. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thanks for the value add.
On, sorry, I just wanted to add to Anusha's question that while I shared all of it, the human touch doesn't go away, there is definitely a need to have it, and however you do it, the quarterly connects, you bring them for a team bonding event, annual, half yearly, whatever, that will still have to continue irrespective. I mean, global employees you can't do it, but whatever you can do locally you should.
One thing which I want to address from a talent acquisition and retention front, when we were operating on 6-7 metro cities, our attrition was standing at 9%. And when we moved to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, our attrition came down to 3%. So there were the retention tools. So what I'm trying to say is with the digital space which Modi government is covering, we need to go to remote cities of tier 2, tier 3, where the attrition rate can also get controlled and savings on the cities. Both ways.
Great. Okay, I now need to really hand over, otherwise we have a threat of being thrown out. No, jokes apart, but thanks. Okay, I enjoyed the conversation as much. So thank you once again for making it so lively. Thank you, Dun Bradstreet, for this wonderful opportunity for all of us. And Toastmasters is the first kind of Toastmasters event that I'm in person. And all the best to you guys. You guys really have now created a community. I would say that. So thank you all.
Let us now welcome Mr. Jason Anamical, Manager Learning and Development, SDA Bocconi School of Management, to share his views.
Am I audible? Yes. Am I visible? Yes. Thank you. Being 6 foot 10. I'm just going to change the layout of the stage a little bit so that it's easier for me to move around while being as less destructive as possible. Okay, cool. This works for me. No problem. Fine. First of all, how many of you are okay with volunteering today with me? 1, 2. Cool. The reason why I asked this question is because I believe in the concept of minimum efforts, maximum participation. So for any of the questions that I ask, I do not want you to raise your hands. I just want you to think of the answer. Okay? My name is Jason Enamakal. Is there any other Jason in this room? No. So I am the only Jason in the room, and I am the only Jason Enamakal in the world, factually speaking, not talking about how unique I am. I love questions. I love to ask them, I love to answer them, and more importantly, I love to create them. I am the manager of learning and development at SDA Bocconi. What that means is SDA Bocconi is an MBA college which is primarily based out of Italy, which has its center here. I'm not diving too much into it. What I do is I am responsible for the growth and development of every student that comes into the college. The reason why I specify every student is because so far, I have trained close to 1,000 students, and I know the names and surname of every student that I've come across. That's the reason why I say I am responsible for each and every person. For sure, it takes me some time to match the names and faces, but eventually, definitely, I remember. The first step of making someone feel seen is by ensuring that you remember what they identify with and what they identify by and how they want to be known. For example, Palak Sharma, she took an extra effort out of her way to know the pronunciation of my surname correctly. I have not been in a lot of events where this happens. First of all, my surname is not the easiest to pronounce, because of which people pronounce it the way that they believe it is to be pronounced. Hence, first of all, thank you, Palak. Secondly, that one extra step that she took and the extra struggle, it was a struggle, that she took to remember and understand the pronunciation of my name, that is something that I will take away with me. Right? So I've already won today, because I found someone taking an extra effort to ensure that I am being seen. Now, since I have worked and trained with more than 900, close to 1,000 students, I have also seen generations of students, generations of mindset. And I absolutely agree with you about the rebellion that we have towards Gen Z and their learning behaviors. But one thing that I found is something that Gen Zs sort of dislike and something that they sort of look forward to in the leaders that they look up to is a flaw. If you portray a perfect picture in front of them, they are not very receptive towards it. If you give them the perfect system, if you give them the perfect environment for growth, they are not very receptive towards it. If you portray yourself as the perfect leader in front of them, they are not very receptive towards it. At the same time, if you tell them that this is what I have in plan for you, this is what I'm expecting out of it. So my goal is this, This is what I have created to you. This gap between the two is where you help me ensure that the outcome is reached. Which also means that I have to follow up with them at their pace to ensure that they get from here to here. Now, some people might just jump right across. Some people might take the weird way out. Some people might not even want to reach here, which is fine. It is my job to ensure that they understand what they are missing out on. For example, Dr. Rishi had spoken about the aspect of FOMO, the fear of missing out. The moment you create that for them, you tell them exactly what are they missing out on, then they start seeing or being open to the fact that, okay, there might be some value in this. Coming to the aspect of questions that I asked, rather I spoke about, which is creating questions, right? In MBA, our students come in from varied backgrounds, and a lot of them do not know what they want to do. I am also a mechanical engineer by graduation, which means that after engineering, I started to think, what do I want to do in life? A lot of our students have the same. And even though the far majority of the students that come into the batch have the same question in their mind, all of them are insecure because they feel, I don't know what I want to do, but this person does. This person is like, I know what I want to do, but I don't have this kind of clarity in terms of how can I do it. That's where people like us come into the picture. Because if I just simply ask, what do you want to do in life? What are your career goals? This person would give me a very generic answer. Now my question is, okay, why this? The first question that I ask in my mock interviews is, why MBA? A lot of them say that, I wanted a career shift, I wanted growth, I wanted to eventually become a manager, I did not want to be in the field of, let's say, tech sales, I wanted to change my domain. Okay, fine, acceptable. But why? There is someone who's coming from a dentistry background who wants to get into consulting, right? What does someone who knows how to make you smile better know about solving consulting problems, right? This gap is what the program more or less takes care of. What I play a part in this picture is helping them know how do they talk about themselves. For example, this dentist in question would not start off by saying that I have a completely different background. She could start off by saying, I am certified in making your smile better, and my goal at the end of this project is to ensure that smile comes out from within. If it is not seen on the outside, I can take care of that as well. Second aspect I want to talk about is growth. Now, I already spoke about how creating questions is so important without diving too much into it. But what is the aspect of growth here? The aspect of growth is that the first thing that you need to grow, or rather need to know to grow, is that there is a scope of growth, right? Perfection is a sham. Excellence is relative. You force someone towards excellence, you might probably get them there eventually. You push someone towards perfection, especially Gen Z, they will never reach there. They will start rebelling. Because from our childhood, we've heard nobody is perfect. And today, nobody wants to be a nobody. Everybody wants to be seen. Hence, if you push them towards perfection, it's not going to work. You push them towards excellence, that could work. Coming back to the aspect of growth. This silence that is there in this room, this is not a silence that unnerves you. This is the silence of anticipation, right? Because you are looking forward to what am I going to say next. Because you know, as long as I am on stage, I am going to say something more. Till I say thank you, you know that I'm probably going to say something more. This anticipation is what you need to create if you want people to grow. They need to know that there is something to look forward to. If you can make that picture clear, exactly what are they looking forward to, that helps. This communication between creating the right questions and creating a path of growth is sort of where Toastmasters really helped me a lot. Okay? Because coming back to the example of the dentist. If let's say that she wants to get into a marketing role, the way that she would introduce herself would be different. If she wants to get into a finance role, the way that she has to introduce herself is different. She wants to get into a consulting role. Her approach has to be different. She's talking about the same things. She's talking about the same life, the same person, but different aspects of it. When I ask a question to a marketer, I want a storytelling aspect. I need more passion. I need to see why if you are going to be a brand manager for my brand, you should be able to talk about my brand at least how you talk about yourself. If I'm not happy with how you talk about yourself, I do not want you to talk about my brand. Whereas a consultant, if you ask a consultant a question, I don't want the processes. Give me the answer first. Then you tell me how you reach to it. This aspect of communication is where I, as the manager of L&D, and I, as a Toastmaster, got an advantage. The other aspect of growth I want to talk about is what I got by being the Vice President of Education at my Toastmasters Club. Now, I am also a student of the college that I work at. I passed out in 21, and then I joined the Career Development Services team. As a student, I believed in putting myself in as many uncomfortable positions as I could, and then figure my way out. Because this bubble that we call a comfort zone is something that can be popped only from the outside. You pop it from the inside, you always feel the bubble is moving further away. So, I put myself in as many uncomfortable positions as possible. I found a way around it. Definitely, I contested for the position of president, but somebody else got it. I became the vice president. On the day of the election, I was upset because I have held many leadership roles in the past, and I believed that I could be the president. On that day, I was even more upset when I got to know that the elected president voted for me. I was like, even he believes that I could do it better. 1 month down the line, I could not be more happier about who my president is, because the belief, the freedom that you get when there is somebody else much more deserving than you at a position higher than you is amazing. Because now, even though I wanted to be the president, I've got someone who's much more capable than me. Maybe not in the same aspects as me, but in aspects that I look up to. I can look up to him in a way that he will tell me what I'm good at. It is my job as his teammate and his vice president to tell him what he is good at. It is the duty of the president to convince everybody in the club and his committee why he deserves to be the president every day. For me, I don't have to convince the president per se, I have to convince everybody under me why I, out of everybody else, deserves to be the Vice President of Education. Now, what does Vice President of Education mean? It means that I have to be responsible for the growth of every person in my team, in my organization, every person who's in the club. If let's say there is some person who's great at the timing of his humor versus someone who is amazing in terms of how she describes the story, I need to know that, okay, this person is already doing humor amazingly. how can he grow? In a lot of cases, I've seen that people who are funny generally don't think that they are funny, and people who are not, unfortunately, think that they are funny. Which is where we, as leaders, come into the picture. When I laugh at his joke, in spite of anybody else in the crowd, when I laugh at his joke, when he considers me to be in a leadership position, he feels validated. He feels that, okay, the vice president of education is laughing at my joke. Maybe I am funny, right? Maybe after the session I can go and tell him that, listen, you were really funny, but I don't think that this is the most appropriate setting to crack this joke in. He would be like, okay, I am funny, I just have to work on my jokes. Whereas when it comes to this person who's really good at curating stories, if I go and tell her, I did not realize time passed by, but maybe somebody else did. I looked at the clock, you surpassed 6 minutes, maybe you can bring it down to 5. But nonetheless, I did not realize time passed by. Now she gets to know that she is doing a great job, but I have actually visualized it for her what her next goal should be. Which is where I come to the third aspect of my time with you, is belief. We spoke about culture today, right? And culture is such a funny concept because you ask different members of the organization what the culture is, their answer should be the same, but it might not, right? Why do I associate belief and culture? Because culture finally at the end of the day is what trickles down to the bottommost employee of your organization. If that person does not feel included, then inclusion is not in your culture. It needs to trickle down to that person as well. Again, why do I bring in belief with culture? Is because now when you know that, okay, probably my culture has not trickled down to the bottommost person, you need to first of all believe in yourself that if I want to make an inclusive culture, I need to bridge this gap. Second, you need to believe that person. If they don't feel included, it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Maybe you're not doing it enough. Maybe you're not doing it loud enough. How many people think that we have a lot of negativity in the world, in the society? How many people think that we need more positivity in the society? I have a slightly different belief. I think we have sufficient positivity. I think we need positivity to be louder. Feedback generally, or ratings, are generally the negative ones that make it to a page. When you're absolutely happy with a service that you get, you might not put a review. When you're not happy with the service that you get, you will definitely go and put a 1 star. Right? That is a very good example. Positivity exists, it just needs to be louder. Coming back, why is this associated with belief? Because belief is the most important aspect of any person's growth that you ever want to be a part of. If I do not believe that the person that I'm coaching is capable of reaching the 20th stage when they are at probably the 2nd, they will not learn to look at themselves there. There's this quote that I use a lot with my friends. I humble myself, you put me on a pedestal. I humble myself, you encourage me. I will be pessimistic or realistic, you need to be optimistic. Because then I will always keep myself below, on the ground, not on a high horse. I need them to tell me what am I doing right. Because now when I hear from another person's perspective, I'm not hearing what I'm good at. I'm hearing what am I good at for them. Belief. This is why belief is so important. Because if you do not have another person to believe in you, you might not really reach growth at the rate that you could, at the time that you could, and at the scale that you could. For example, I am more or less fresh into Toastmasters the second time that I've joined Toastmasters. I am here on this stage addressing all of you, while there are much more qualified people who could be doing this instead. That is the belief that Toastmasters has in me, which is something that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I will boast about it. As Gen Z says, I will flex it. But at the end of the day, when I get to address a crowd as diverse as this, as experienced as this, with my story, that is how the belief that Toastmasters has in me leads to my growth. That's my time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jason. Now I would like to call Mr. Hardik Shah, who's the District 98 Director from Toastmasters International, former Chief Operating Officer Z-Learn MT Educare, to share his views.
Am I audible? Am I visible to the back end? Now, if I asked any of you to come on the stage and give a speech right now, would you be a little nervous and have butterflies? Yes, no? Anyone? I'm a little nervous right now, to be very honest, and I need a little help from all of you. Every time I forget a line or take a long pause, can you at least smile and clap for me? Thank you, Jason, for sharing that beautiful journey from being a student to a professional and how Toastmasters help you in your journey so far. Now it's time for all of us to listen to the story of one more student. The story goes back to 2012. A newly qualified chartered accountant was working with a Big Four consulting firm. Now, on this particular occasion, he had to send out a particular opinion to a client. Unfortunately, his senior was not in office that day, so he had to work with that manager who was the most dreaded on the floor. Now, with a little bit of conviction, he walked up to her and told her that the opinion we are sending out is incorrect. And he tried to explain why. For some reason, she did not get the point. And in frustration, this hero of our story said, "Ugh." And the stare that she gave him for the next 10 seconds is something he's never going to forget. The next thing he did was to run to the washroom and hide there, thinking of how to send that resignation email to the organization. Almost 30 minutes later, with a little bit of courage, he walked back to his cubicle at the other end of the office and started drafting. Not the resignation email, he started drafting the opinion and his perspective towards it. And he sent that email out to his manager. And just when he was smartly trying to sneak out of the office, the manager called him to her cabin and started smiling. He was a little confused on what happened. And she said that, "Your point of view is correct. Why did you not explain this to me in the morning?" And that's when he realized that he was smart, but that's not going to make him a partner at the organization. What's got him there will not open the next doors for him. And next, what he did was possibly any other employee will do: procrastinate. And the story is not over here. But before I come back to his story, there's one question for all of you. Typically in interviews, what's the first question that we ask to anyone? Tell me something about yourself. So a small clip of a 26-year-old telling us about himself.
I request all of you to do a small exercise with me. Take your left hand and place it right on the chest. Is your heart nodding? Sorry, beating. Stop nodding, yeah. Your heart on the left side. While stepping on this podium, standing over there, my heartbeat almost stopped, only to recover the pounding heart right now. I wish I had a Fitbit to show to you all. When the laugh and your heartbeat were faster than usual. Examinations? A dozen missed calls from your parents, your boss, your girlfriend, or your crush walks by. But your heartbeat stops to show a straight line when the person you love and dream of spend the rest of your life with gets married to someone else. What they've chosen was your birthday. Good morning, team. I request all of you to do one small
In the
exercise with
interest
me.
of time,
Take
we
your
can close that. Thank you. Yeah, that's me 7 years back. All right, and that's the first speech I gave at a Toastmaster environment. Now, can you imagine? At the end of that speech, this person got a standing ovation from 100 people. And he was so confident after the speech that he will be the best speaker that day. Of course, both of us know he didn't deserve to be the best speaker that day, and he did not be the best speaker. But with that excitement, he went back home, a little confused, a little happy, a little sad. And he asked his mentor that I had prepared so well, what went wrong? His mentor told him that, let's forget that. You have a speech 1 month down the line, let's focus on that. And every time I sent the draft to my mentor, he will delete a few paragraphs from the speech. And I kept wondering why. A month later, I went on to get that best speaker ribbon. And this time when I asked people, like I put the same energy, the same effort, what changed? They said that, Hardik, when you spoke last time, we didn't understand any of it. At least this time your pace was reasonable for us to comprehend what you were trying to say. And that's when it struck me that the mentor very smartly reduced the content enough to fit the time limit. And I realized that I was confident on stage, but I wasn't a good communicator. What got me till there will not open the next doors for me. In 2020, when COVID hit, I was serving as the VP of Education of my home club. Now, since the explanation is already done by Jason, my job is a little easier over here. It's very similar to the operations profile in a unit, right? Running the operations of a business. At that point in time, it was a crisis situation on how to keep the club meetings functioning. And that's when the team huddled together. We iterated, pivoted different options, finally to conclude on using a technological platform for us to keep the meetings going online so that the learning does not stop. It gave me a chance to experiment with ideas, even if possibly they did not work out tomorrow. And this helped me exactly a year later when I joined an educational company. As soon as I joined, I was put on a project to develop a home learning kit for preschool students. I had no background of it. I wasn't from the space before. But what I did was work with my academic team and the IT team. We pivoted to get a minimum viable product launched within 3 months. This product went on to sell 1 crore worth of business in the next 30 days. That's where experiments and pivots helped me reach my next goal. But the interesting part is not that. The interesting part is that when I was working on this product very closely with my boss, on one fine Monday morning, he said that, Hardik, show me a demo of this. And I had shown it to him last evening. So I was a little confused, what does he want out of this? So when I walked into the boardroom, that's when it struck to me. In the room, sitting over there was Dr. Subhash Chandra, the chairman of the Z Group, and my demonstration was supposed to be given to him. A few seconds it took me a while, and then I started with the demonstration. But as it says, right, what has to go wrong will go wrong at the wrong time. Just when I started showing the application to him at this point in time, it was a beta testing phase of the application, and it crashed. But instead of panicking, I smartly put the phone aside and started showing him other features of the product, waiting for the phone to recover, and then show the application again to him. I realized that what got me to the cabin will not make me a successful leader tomorrow. I have to be better prepared. What got me till there will not open the next doors for me. But what did this was that when I handled that very calmly without panicking, it actually left a good impression on the chairman and my boss. To be honest, the snap is clicked by my boss, who was the CEO of the company. All right? The biggest cheerleader mentor I've had over here in the organization. A few months later, I was promoted as the business head of the organization. And a year later, I was promoted as the youngest chief operating officer in the enterprise. Right? And exactly in parallel of this journey was my Toastmasters leadership journey. In 2022, I was leading the second largest district of Toastmasters in growth and expansion across 7 states in India. In 23, I was heading quality and operations, for which I was awarded Excellence in Program Quality by Toastmasters International. That's last year. And today, I stand before you as the district director of 120 clubs with a team of 50 volunteers, many of them who are part of this group right now. In the last 7 odd years, I have paid around 70,000 rupees to be part of this platform and community. But it has given me a chance to experiment and fail. It's helped me build my executive presence. It's given me a chance to demand a seat on the table and put my point of view forward. It's given me a chance to interact with multiple stakeholders of an organization, from students to teachers to parents to employees to your bosses and the investors. I was having a chance to interact with all of them in the last couple of years because of the confidence I could have by coming up on the stage. I had a chance to interact and network with all of you over here because of Toastmasters. But I also realized that what's got me here will not take me to the next door. And that makes me a student of this platform for a longer duration. Jason and me are 2 individuals out of 1 million who have benefited from this 100-year-old organization. The question is, are you and me going to open the next door for the next 1 million individuals? Back to you.
Thank you, Hardik. With this, we bring today's event to a close. Before we bring this session to an end, I would like to thank Toastmasters for hosting this conference along with Dun Bradstreet. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Please do join us for the networking lunch. Take care and stay safe.